unmuting and putting the camera on. 8:29.
Good morning. For those of you that are watching, we'll get started in just a minute to give people a chance to log on and make sure they're in the right live stream for a meet. And we'll begin in 1 minute at 8:32.
Do you want us to watch it at 8:30?
Good morning to a very unusual convocation this year. Yesterday, my son asked what I had to do yesterday, and one of the things I told him I was doing was preparing for convocation today. And he said, I thought last week you canceled that. And I told him, I said, no, we just made it a virtual convocation. He said, so you're not bringing everyone together? And I said, no. He said, well, how are they watching it? And I told him that we're going to be streaming it. He said, well, don't worry about your speech then, because nobody's going to watch it anyway. So we'll find out if that's true or not. I will say it's very awkward to give a speech with no crowd response and without being able to read people's faces. But as those of you that were with us last year, you know all about that, from teaching, looking at a camera, except for this time, instead of having the Google Meet of having some cameras on and some cameras off, today I have no cameras looking back at me. So it's a little bit odd. I'm going to mute my phone real fast, which I should have done earlier. All right. Well, good morning officially, and welcome to the 21-22 school year. I attended my first convocation in 1995 as a first-year teacher in Jefferson County Schools in Tennessee. I remember being overwhelmed being in a room with all the veteran teachers, many of whom taught me when I was a student in the Jefferson County school system. I remember I was filled with doubt that day, wondering if I would ever be as good as most of the people I knew in the room. Well, let me put that suspense to rest. No, I never became as good as them. But ever since that first year, I've loved convocations. And I know that makes me a little weird, but I do love them. I've not always worked for school systems that had convocations, but since 2002, I've had the pleasure of having a convocation each and every year until last year. In May, when we had our in-person graduations, I started looking forward to having convocations again. But COVID's taken a little bit from all of us and a lot from a few of us. Please remember this year that each of us has lost differently, and that we should all be kind to those who have either lost more or less than us. But one of my losses has been in-person convocation for 2 years now. And while that probably doesn't seem like a lot to many, it does to me. I love Stokes County Schools, and I'm amazed by the heart of educators. And this is one time a year that we all come together in one place, and I get to feel the energy or synergy in the room. It always pumps me up to know that we're going to have a great year when we have everyone together. But the convocation is also a chance that it gives me a chance to remind you of many of the positive things that have occurred. In the past, we've shared about bringing art back to our elementary schools, increasing the supplement to a full 4%, getting social work, things like that. And we've just finished a summer school like no other this year. This year, we had more teachers, staff, and students for more time than ever before, and the results have been amazing. Many students recovered credits, showed tremendous growth, and became proficient in reading and math due to everyone's hard work. And I want to take a moment to thank those teachers, the administrative team, the bus drivers, the school nutrition workers, and the students for coming every day to put in that hard work for those amazing results. Our Board of Education and County Commissioners passed budgets this year to enhance our schools and increase your paychecks with a competitive 5% employee supplement. Just a reminder that 5 short years ago when I arrived in Stokes County, we said the supplement was 4%, but that was frozen on a salary scale from, I believe, 2012. So in reality, many of your supplements were around 3%. And since the last time we met for in-person convocation, the classified salary scale was also unfrozen, paying people in 2021 for their actual years of experience. And investments also been made into the mental health of our students this year. Since our last time we met as a convocation, we've added social workers and a director of academic and emotional support. COVID has impacted us all differently, and we're trying to meet the needs of all of our students. 3 years ago, I started having a theme for convocations. And every once in a while, you can see this, I still see the little frogs sitting on some of your desks or tables and your offices or in your classrooms. And our theme that year was about the frogs that you could either gig a frog or you can kiss them and turn them into a prince. And to remind you to metaphorically kiss your frogs and turn them into a prince. And every once in a while, I see the minute timers, where in the 1920 school year, we tried to remind you that each minute counts and to value each minute. Who knew how appropriate that would be as we lost the final 9 weeks of that school year? This year, you'll receive a keychain light, may have already received it this morning, for our slogan this year of Stokes Shines. I want to share with you some pictures. I'm going to share my screen as we enter this technology age. And of course, it said there's an error that's occurred, so I'll try again. Many of you probably went to the beach this summer, and there was probably a lot of laughter, fun, people splashing in the water. To make this a G-rated thing, I didn't take a regular beach photo. I used a triathlon where everyone's fully covered, not to offend anyone. But you see the people at the triathlon running into the water. The screen next to it's of a couple of divers, deep diving or not diving and using their lights. Here's a picture of a field with people running out onto the field. You're welcome, Mr. Rose. I included Virginia Tech for you today. And then other people walking through nature, but at night in the woods. Then I ask you to think about the differences of what you've seen. And as I use a mouse in different directions, I'm getting myself confused a little bit this morning, again, as you experienced last year. But think about the differences between those pictures. And obviously, the difference is the amount of light. This year, you're going to ask to be the light for our students. And as you look at the pictures of the dark, I want you to notice several of the similarities. When I look at the pictures, I notice a difference in the speed and the closeness of the people. In the light, people are moving really fast and spread out. But when it gets darker, they're close together and moving slower. This happens a lot of times with people in my generation as we drive. We drive normally during the day, but then at nighttime, we start slowing down. And sure, in Stokes County, that's to minimize hitting deer or the damage that's done to your car. But it also happens in other roads too, or for those of y'all not from Stokes County, just for safety reasons. But closeness is another byproduct. As a kid growing up, I've mentioned before, I grew up in Alabama, and in the summer, my parents worked at a youth camp. And so it was an awesome experience as a kid to go through the woods and all this area to explore. But at nighttime, we would all go out with our flashlights. And not only did we have to worry about tripping on roots and other things in the uneven ground and rocks, but we also had a lot of snakes in Alabama. And so when we would go out at night with a flashlight, if everyone had their own flashlight, we still moved a lot slower, but it was fine. But when there was only one flashlight in a group of people, as this picture shows, we all got close together. And in fact, people would start reaching for your arm to hold on to your arm to try to get a hold of the flashlight to make sure that it was pointing in the direction that they needed to see. When we go to the beach with our children, or when they were younger, we would go out looking for sand crabs at night. And as we would get there, I always tried to make sure that my wife didn't have a flashlight so that I could grab a hold of her and hold her close to me, because she was worried about stepping on the sand crabs or them pinching her feet or stepping on a bottle that was left there from the day. But it was a closeness that you could get when you pulled them in to see that light. And I want you to think of those metaphors this year, because there's going to be some times when we're asked to show the light for our students that we're going to have to go slower. They may come to you this year without all the skills that you're used to them having after a year and a half of COVID. It's also a time for closeness that we're going to have to metaphorically grab some students by the waist and say, we're not losing you. We're pulling you in close, and you're going to use my light to see your direction as we move forward. That's the picture I want you to think of this year. You may wonder why I didn't give you a big mag light. And sure, there may have been some budgetary constraints that got you one of these instead of one of those. But I also wanted you to think about how a tiny light can make a difference. And while you may just be a single light for your students at times, when you put the lights together, it makes a whole star light up in a galaxy. And Stokes County teachers and staff, y'all are stars for our students. And while you may make a little difference, when we each take each of our students and care for them, we make a huge difference. And y'all have truly been stars during all this time. And my challenge for you is to keep being a star for our kids as we move forward into this school year. And I'm sure that excellent results will follow. In addition to the flashlight, you should have received breakfast this morning, but you're also going to get another gift today. You've been asked to block off from 8:30 to 10 o'clock for convocation this morning. Principals, directors, and yes, even myself, the superintendent, are not allowed to plan anything else today until 10:01. Now you're being given the rest of this morning until 10 o'clock to work in your rooms to get ready for open house, lesson plan, or whatever else you need to do to get ready for this year. Principals and others may resume the school schedule at 10:01. Principals and assistant principals, I need to meet with you this morning at 9 o'clock. I've sent you another calendar invite for a quick meeting at 9 o'clock. And that may or may not also just ensure that you can't bother our teachers during this time and their staff. So staff, please enjoy the gift of time, your lights, and a great school year. I also want to thank the technology department for all the help that they've done this year with getting us set up with passwords, accounts, Chromebooks, desktop. This morning, the new technology in my office to have this. Our technology team has done amazing work in the last 18 months. Last week, I sat with some superintendents in the region, and some of them were talking, and they still don't have Chromebooks for their students, and they cannot do any virtual learning for anyone for any reason. And I'm very grateful to be part of a team that has looked out for our students and staff, where you've got new Chromebooks, desktops, cameras, all of the stuff, and they've done a phenomenal job of keeping them working. By the way, we are looking to hire some technicians, so if you know anybody, please tell them to check out the website. That's just a little free plug. But again, teachers, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. It's 8:45 this morning. Enjoy the next hour and 15 minutes as you prepare for this school year. Thank y'all and have a great day.